I say start small.
Start small. We're gonna work our way up.
Yeah.
All right, we can go. So Terry Rose, we can go Terry Rozier. So I brought up the contracts for a reason because sometimes you're spitballing, you're like, oh, what about this guard, right? So when you're thinking about who you want to add as a backup point guard, there's a few things that you want to keep in mind, right? You want to keep in mind, A, uh, is he good enough to man that second unit? B, can he play with Jalen Brunson in closing lineups sometimes? And him, a player being able to play with Jalen Brunson at closing lineups, he has to be able to catch and shoot at a good rate and set other people up at a good rate. We're trying to find a Emmanuel quickly stopgap or stopgap. We don't expect to find another Emmanuel quickly, but what you try to do is you try to find somebody who can at least give you around 70 or 80% of what he does. So we spitballing, and you guys probably spitballing too. We talked about the possibility of Terry Rozier. So I looked up his contract and I was like, whoa, okay, I didn't realize. I didn't realize the amount of money he had on his contracts. Yeah. 21 million this season, 23 the next season, 26 in 2025. The 2025-2026 year, he is partially guaranteed. So for this year, Evan Fournier for Terry Rozier would definitely work. A pick would probably work as well. The question is, will it be worth it? And I want to get your thoughts on Terry Rozier being a backup point guard for the New York Knicks. Right now, he's averaging 23 points a game, 46% from the field, 35% from three. What are your thoughts? Who wants to go first? Go ahead,
I'm gonna
Ryan.
do each one. And
Okay.
I'm a list of pros. I'm a list of cons,
Okay.
and then I'll say overall how I feel.
Okay.
Overall, on Terry Rozier, no. What he does give you, moxie. He's got that dog in him. I think the Knicks are kind of missing that personality off of the bench. Starting lineup definitely has it with Julius Randle. The backup kind of lost it when quickly went out the door. I feel like and Josh Hart's not good enough to have that personality, make it affected on the offensive end. But Terry Rozier's got it. He had it in Boston. He's really never lost it, even amidst the mass losing in Tatsa culture in Charlotte and with the up and down minutes. Sometimes he's starting because of the absence of ball. Through it all, he always plays his hardest on the offensive side. He's never afraid to take a big shot. I love that about him. Problem is, he's horribly inefficient, both at the rim and from three. And one of the things that I haven't really cared for about Terry Rozier is every time I see a meme or a listicle online or on Twitter, it's like the worst finishers or the worst at catch and shoot or any type of metric that's quantifying players the top 10% of percentile. And the worst of he's always on that list.
Yeah.
Also being one and too small, he's not a great pairing with Brunson. He's also at best when on ball. That also doesn't work well with Brunson. Jay Ellis are going to be the catch and shoot numbers, especially on the 3-point line. I don't know those, but even like my gut and the eye test says that's not the right pairing for Jalen Brunson. Overall, no.
All right. What you thinking, Ryan?
Um, I generally agree with Lee. I don't think it's a great fit. He's definitely a talented point guard. I do think that he does provide a lot of scoring, and he would be my only concern with Rozier is I do think he's a starting point guard.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he would be content. I don't know if he would be content with the bench role. And you could have the option of starting him next to Brunson and stagger minutes and have him play with the second unit. But at the same time, I don't really see Rozier as the ideal backcourt mate for Brunson if you go that route as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sold on Rozier. And then on top of that, his contract is a bit expensive. And yeah, I'm just not on board with Rozier. Overall, he's a good player, but I don't think it's the type of backup guard the Knicks need to really get them over the top, even though he's a very talented player.
Yeah, if if Steve Mills was here, he'd probably try to trade. That's a fact. That's a fact. But the Knicks are trying to offer Emmanuel quickly 20 million. So when I saw the number 23 million, 26 million, I started thinking, you know what? I don't see the Knicks going this route, knowing the cap they were willing to offer Emmanuel quickly, and he exceeds that cap. When it comes to the shooting numbers too, you know what? The rim numbers don't scare me as much. And I had this conversation with Lee on our group chat. Rim numbers don't scare me that much if you can shoot elite in other areas, right? Because we have Dante, who's elite 3-point shooter, doesn't really shoot that well at the rim. Emmanuel quickly didn't have great at the rim numbers, but also he didn't really go all the way to the rim on most of his drives. He would stop at that short mid a lot of the time and get to a floater. So when I'm looking at Terry Rozier's numbers in the short mid and the long mid, they're good, they're good. 69th percentile, 67th percentile. So that doesn't really bother me. 3-point shooting, catch and shoot shooting might be the real issue. He's shooting 40% in non-corner threes, which isn't bad. But when you go to the catch and shoot numbers, which is what you really need to have when you're playing next to Brunson specifically, his catch and shoot numbers, I have it written down. I don't have a graphic for this. Is 32% on catch and shoot. And a little bit better on pull-ups, 37% on pull-up threes. So for me, that might be a little bit too low. He might be okay off the bench if he's the guy shooting on those pull-ups, but next to Brunson might not be the guy. And we need playmakers next to Brunson at points, not necessarily the whole time, but at points to give Brunson some rest. But unless you're just having Hartenstein do some playmaking sometimes, like we've seen versus the 76ers, then maybe it could work. But so after doing some digging, it's a no for me, dog. I'll pass on Terry Rozier for sure. Which brings us to who else we talked about? Jordan Clarkson.
Ooh.
His numbers are interesting. What do you think about Jordan Clarkson?
Absolutely, hell yes. He's my number one choice. I am all in on this. I think I'll probably even go as far as maybe overpaying a little bit to get him on the team. Bona fide sixth man of the year. I think he replicates Emmanuel Quickly's game the most, but I think he's a little bit more mature and ready for his spotlight in terms of the playoffs. We saw Emmanuel Quickly not really be able to embrace the bright lights of the postseason. It wasn't himself. You'd say the same thing about Joyce Randle. You can't say that about Jordan Clarkson. Clarkson always shows up. He's a perfect complementary backcourt player to Donovan Mitchell during their days with Utah. And I think he would pair very nice with Edson Brunson as well. And I think he would be a bona fide leader. He's a startable player that's okay with being on a bench. He understands his role and he plays to the full potential. I think he could also be someone who averages 25 in a playoff series for us and might be the best player on the court at times. Clarkson is a firecracker at only 31 years old. I think he still has something to prove in the postseason to really have that great series. And if we could add him, I'm telling y'all right now, we add outside forever. I'm saying it. I'll say it again. I'll say it again. Bad. I guess bad. He's 31, so we can't have him for a real long time. Like he won't be the point guard, the backup point guard of the future,
right.
Like quickly with a while. And defensively, he's not great. He's not going to be able to guard the point of attack like Emmanuel Quickly either. He also doesn't have that high upside where he's got long reach or he's really good at guarding posting up point guards. He doesn't have any of those intangibles in his defensive game either. So I'm not going to call him a traffic cone, but he might have some deficiencies there.
Now, what you thinking, Ryan G?
I'll say this about Clarkson. It's one of those trades where it's like, if the Knicks were to get him, would I be upset? No. Is he my preferred choice? No. His shooting numbers does concern me this season because across the board he is down in his shooting, but on the positive side, he's also increased his facilitation this season. He has been passing the ball more and finding his teammates more for open shots and things of that nature. So I think that is a positive to his game. Like Lee said, the positive about Jordan Clarkson is he is a starting caliber player and he is okay with the bench role because that is the type of player that he's been for the majority of his career. So in that way, he is similar to IQ. But, defensively, yeah, he's not that great. And offensively, it's just a shooting that concerns me. If he was shooting like his normal self this season, I'd be more on board with it. But just the fact that his shooting numbers are poor across the board this season has me a bit hesitant. But if the Knicks were to get him, I wouldn't be against it, but he's not my preferred choice.
Yeah, I hear you. It's interesting about the shooting numbers because he's not finishing well at the rim this year. I'm not sure what that's about. This is like his lowest year finishing at the rim, 7th percentile at the rim. His 3-point numbers aren't good as well. Like the catch and shoot, 32%, pull up 28%. He's a mid-range guy. He's gonna be in that mid-range and he's gonna kill you in that mid-range. For me, like when Utah is this, when you evaluating guys and they're on sucky teams, it's really hard sometimes to figure out what's real and what's not. Because sometimes when you're in a losing situation for a long time, it kind of weighs on you. Like the team's not going anywhere. You lost 10 in a row, so you're just kind of just like, all right, I'm gonna go for mine, or I'm gonna check out here, check out there, and if you get traded, you can be reinvigorated. So his some of his numbers are down for sure. It might just be he's just tired of being in Utah in a losing situation, and a change of scenery might be able to help a guy like Clarkson. But as far as the shooting, though, three-point shooting was never his thing, really. So I don't expect that to magically open up. But that dog, that fight, that guy who's going to be like an alpha on the court, he has that. So it would be nice to have somebody like that on the squad. But I'm so on Clarkson. I'm so on Clarkson. All right. Which brings us to, should we get to, what about Tyus? We just saw Tyus today. Yeah, because Tyus is an interesting case study. Oh, let me show these. I forgot to show you the contract for Clarkson too. I'm gonna show you the contract for Clarkson too. Making $23 million this year. Descending contract, a la Scott Perry. All right, Scott Perry special. Descending contract, $23 million this year, so that's looking like an Evan Fournier deal. But $14 million for the next 2 seasons thereafter. Pretty damn good contract. Probably gonna be a tradable contract too. So it's like if you really believe in McBride and you believe in bringing him on slow, you can keep one eye on McBride and say, all right, he's developing this part of his game now, and then trade him when he's on a small contract and swap in McBride if you feel like McBride is more ready next year or something like that. That's something you can do if you bring in a contract like Jordan Clarkson's who's descending. Because
that's an excellent point. And one more, because I love him so much. I want him on the team. One more pro. Brunson's so good. If Clarkson's off, if he's chucking, if he's shooting inefficient, you can bench his ass and let Brunson finish the game. Because that's one of the benefits of us having so much depth. It's not do or die with Clarkson. But I think the pros outweigh the cons with him offensively, even though those stats told the whole truth. He's a horrible corner 3 shooter, like 11%. I think I saw for this year. That's like
no. Okay, this is the 11th percentile. He's not 11% shooting. So this is 11th percentile, meaning when you compare him to other wings at his position, he's at the 11th percentile for all threes. But he's shooting
terrible.
He's shooting 28th percentile for corner threes, but overall shooting 36% from the corner three. Now, 35% used to be average a couple of years ago, but now the league has progressed where 35% is now starting to be low. It's interesting, but he's 36% in the corner three. I hope I explained that correctly or clearly. All right, cool. Let's get to Tyus Jones, because Tyus Jones is an interesting case study as well. Because Tyus is a guy. Shout out to, I forgot the name of the Twitter who mentioned this. He's another Knicks podcast guy. I don't think he's on YouTube. I think he's on SoundCloud. But Tyus is a guy who's been the backup for the Grizzlies for a very long time, and every time Ja Morant's gotten injured, he's picked up the slack, and they haven't missed a beat. There was even rumblings about, oh, maybe the Grizzlies are better without Morant. Remember that whole thing? Of course, it was ridiculous, but you still need Ja Morant. But he was able to steady the ship. Let me get his numbers real quick. So these are Tyus Jones. This is offensive. But the thing with Tyus Jones is he's been a low usage point guard. Now, when he was with Memphis, that time when Ja was down, you can see his usage rate went up, and he was fairly successful that year. That's the year that got him the contract. But now his usage is down. When you have Cools and Jordan Poole on your team, your usage is going to be down. it just is what it is. But even with his usage being down, like, the shooting is all the way there. Like, it's all the way there. 86 percentile at the rim. He shoots 44% for three. He can shoot at all three levels. You saw the floater today too. Tyus Jones is interesting because he's on a bad team. So you don't really see how good he can be because it's a bad team. So you kind of almost have to take it with a grain of salt. The one thing I will say about him, though, he's not that guy that's going to take over the game for you. Like, he's not that guy who's going to be like, give me the ball. I want the last shot. He's kind of more of a traditional point guard who's going to be steady. He's not going to take the bull by the horns. What are your thoughts on Tyus Jones?
Cons. He's kind of boring. I think he might be like the highest floor, definitely the lowest ceiling. There's nothing flashy about him, and that's kind of okay. In general, I think this position needs to have some of that moxie that I spoke about earlier that Terry Rozier is in full supply of. And Tyus doesn't really have that. I think he can give you a very sturdy 13 off the bench, 4-4 during a deep playoff run and command the second unit. But I don't know if that second unit has that panache that we need that it used to have when IQ was in that role. So I think you lose a little bit of that. It's how much it's feared when that group comes into the game with Tyus Jones there. Pros, like I said, high floor. I think he low turnover for the most part. I think he's 1.1 in steals, but he does have 123 defensive rating. So I'm not so sure how that translates in terms of guarding the point of attack in terms of one-on-one as well. But that's a really horrible rating, especially for a guard. He's a solid shooter. You saw the catch and shoot numbers. I think he would complement Brunson as well. I'm not totally sure of his height. I don't think he doesn't look like he's over 6'2".
Nah, he's a shorty.
Nah.
So that is what it is. I think that's a unit now. Once Mitchell Robinson's back, he's going to have enough switchability. So I'm not super concerned about that when he'd be matched up against bench guys. But yeah, it's not really that attractive of a name. I
don't care about names. The hell? Compare results.
I want names who have earned their name, or at least earned their reputation for being worth, trading a little bit better of a deck for. Tyus Jones for me is probably a pass. If we got him, I'll learn to be okay with it.
He's performing in the playoffs. I'm just saying. Go ahead, Ryan.
I would just say for me, he's a solid player. If the Knicks were to get him and put him in that second unit, he would solidify the second unit. I don't think he's a player that's going to put the Knicks over the top. I think it's a player that if he's added, he will make the team better. He will solidify that second unit. He's a good shooter. It doesn't matter whether it's catch and shoot or pull up jumpers. He's effective either way. He also takes care of the ball. He has a low turnover rate, which is good. I think like for the past like 3 or 4 seasons when he was in Memphis. I think he led the league in assist to turnover ratio. So he's a point guard that's not going to turn over the ball. He's going to take care of it, and he's going to run. He's going to run an offense. But for me, I think I do want somebody in that role who's going to add a bit more scoring pop.
Yeah.
Somebody off the bench that is that is capable of lighting it up any night. And that's the only reason why I wouldn't go for Tyus Jones in that role. And then on top of that, I think he's on an expiring contract as well, so the Knicks would have to re-sign him on top of that after the season. So I think that kind of hurts as well, because if you're going to give up assets for a player like that, you're thinking about at least keeping him on the team for years to come. So there's a lot of factors that where it's like I just wouldn't be on board with it fully. But I do think he's a solid player and that he would solidify that second unit if the Knicks were to go for him.
Catch and shoot numbers for Tyus: 41% catch and shoot threes, pull up threes 48%, pick and roll 98th percentile.
Let's go.
I think he's just not used enough over there because they went with Jordan Clarkson. So he might be somebody sneaky. I will say, will he want to come off the bench after he wanted to get a starting role for Washington? Probably not. But considering how his season has gone this season in Washington, he's a $14 million player this year. When he's expiring, I can't imagine him commanding a large amount of money next season, considering the lack of success with Washington. So, and listen, the Knicks are interested in Dejonte Murray as well. Dejonte Murray is also an expiring deal. So it seems like they plan on trying to sign him as well if they end up actually trading for him. If they are still interested in trading for him. So that's, keep an eye out on that. It's funny. I can see Deuce being like Tyus Jones that can dunk. If he develops correctly. But I imagine Deuce being Tyus Jones with hops. Tyus Jones with hops and more defense. That's just the way I see it. Shoot to you guys in the chat though. What do you guys think in the chat? I haven't really read the chat. I've been looking at stats and stuff like that. But shout out to the chat. Shout out to Prezi the Boss. Shout out to Gregory Lee. Fritz says, can I come through on the Discord? Yeah, you can come through on the Discord. We're going to talk about, we'll talk about 2 more, and then we'll have you in the Discord, all right?
Drop who you want in the chat.
Huh?
Hashtag who you want in the chat. I want to see who the chat wants the most of the guys we've talked about so far. You know me, I'm hashtag Clarkson all day, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, I've seen, we'll see. I've seen a few names. I think I've seen mixed. I feel like I'm not sure if anybody is.
Yeah, I don't think there's a consensus on anybody in Knicks Nation. It's a Knicks Nation want a whole bunch of different players.
Yeah,
there's no consensus.
Yeah, I agree. There's not like one name that's overwhelming that I'm hearing. I'm hearing a bunch. Let's get to it. Next person up. Let's go Brogdon. Let's go Brogdon. To me, when we're talking about who we should get, I think we should get Brogdon. I think, hey, we lose 1 6-man of the year contender, slide another one in. You see his contract. It's a little bit more than what Quickly was asking for. So I'm not sure how the Knicks feel about that. That might be in their pay range because, like I said earlier, the Knicks were offering Quickly $20 million. He's making 22. So will they be okay with that price tag? I'm not sure, but it's possible. It's only 2 seasons left. Also, you know what, Lee? Let's give you your thoughts. I don't even do that. I'll do my little breakdown later. What are your thoughts on Brogdon?
Overall, hell yes. He's probably my second option, and it's close between him and Clarkson. I think Brogdon might be the most hungriest to really get a real chance at competing for a chip, I think he would also be okay with coming off the bench as he was in Boston. I think he would understand, hey, Jalen Brunson's one of the 5 point guards in the NBA you acquiesce to and come off the bench for and shut your mouth about it and just play your role. Because Brunson's that guy. He's an A1 superstar. So I think he brings all the things I talked about, not so much the moxie, but the professionalism, the leadership, and that dog mentality to really in the playoffs to be a real threat. Someone who could also average 20 in a playoff series. He has that, and to me, that's just as valuable as having some type of personality or a loud voice in the court. And he's a winner. He's a solid corner three shooter, solid in the catch and shoot. And I think he can play some off ball or on ball, depending on how much Brunson's needed at his usage rate. Complimentary player. A winner. Guy who has a lot of playoff experience. Two-way, 118, 119 defensive rating. So not as bad as Tyus Jones, but I think in the playoff series, guard and bench guys, he can do it. We add him, we're outside forever.
Yeah. 6'5", 6. You want to have some height next to Brunson. So 6'5" combo guard is the type of guard you want to add ideally. So I can see a lot of teams being interested in him. It would be nice to have him to go back up against the Celtics. That would just be nice. Ryan G, what do you think?
Yeah, to me, he's pretty much a prototypical player you want to add to the roster. I mean, seriously. Solid backup point guard. He can play. To me, he could play either the 1 or the 2. Pretty much, he's pretty much a combo guard, and I think that he works well next to Brunson. The fact that he's a great catch and shoot shooter. I think 51.3% from catch and shoot threes.
Yep.
So he's pretty much money. If you pass him the ball and he's wide open for 3, he's going to make the shot. And the fact that he's a good facilitator as well, decent defender. He pretty much checks all the boxes. I feel like if the Knicks do get Brogdon, like Lee said, Knicks gonna probably be outside because I think he's the ideal piece for Knicks to add off that for the second unit to come off that bench and provide scoring and provide facilitation, defense, can run an offense and things of that nature. I think it's the perfect choice.
Of all the arguments, JLS, that we've had as a group on the show, this was the one I think you convinced me the hardest on. I was initially, let's get a star. Let's go Dejonte. I was on board with Ryan, and I'm still okay with it. But you were like, we just need that backup playmaker. And I really thought about it. I listened to how you described it. You sell me, bro. I'm on board. That's what we need in order to be a true contender.
Yeah, I think we just need a backup playmaker. I feel like Dante has been fine in his role. The only thing with Dante is you don't know what he's going to be in the playoffs. That's the only thing going to be, I would say. But hey, then we did Brogdon. We have a guy in the playoffs who can be solid for us, 51% catch and shoot shooter. You know what I'm saying? So we'll still be okay. We can just make the switch out in the playoffs if he ends up not being that guy. You know what I'm saying? So that's the way I see it. And like you said, Ryan G, facilitator. I think I look at his pick and roll numbers. I think it's 81th percentile in the pick and roll. Yeah, pick and roll. Oh, wait. No, it's 32 percentile this year. But he's on Portland. Like this is one of those things where he's on a bad team, so you don't know how that's going to affect him. The year before, he's been 81st percentile. This year he's been 32nd percentile. But Portland is trying to figure stuff out. So I don't put too much stock in that. I feel like if you put him around other guys who can finish for you and who are a threat to score, I think those numbers would go back up again. And then we ship out a guy who was 6-man of the year candidate. We bring in one of the best defenders in the league, and we trade back in for another 6-man of the year type of player. It's almost kind of like what the Celtics did, where they got rid of Marcus Smart, and then got Porzingis to help them at center, stretch the floor, and then bring in another Marcus Smart type player who might be better for them. So it's kind of a similar situation for us, where it's not going to be a long-term situation because he's still older, but at least for like another couple of years, it should work out for us and help us make a run this season.
Yeah, and I do want to say something based on what I see in the chat, because I do see Sherwin saying that Knicks are going to be hard cap if they even make a trade like that. But my thing is, who cares about the cap if you think a player can come in and win y'all a championship? You know what I mean? At that point, it's like the cap don't matter no more. If you bring in a player and you think that player can take you over the top and win the championship, why not go for that player, even if you will be hard capped for a couple seasons?
Yeah, it's what, 2 seasons?
Yeah, he has 2 seasons left in his contract.
Yeah, it's 2 seasons left in his contract. The cap is going to go up. We might be hard cap, but at that point, it might not be bad because I still think we would have. I think we would have 2 trade exceptions still. I think we have 2 trade exceptions to get somebody if we needed to or to facilitate a trade and pick. So I still think we'd be okay because we still have like a lot of low. We still have a lot of low contracts. Like that Dante contract is extremely low. So as long as it's not like a lot of years, I still feel like we can get away with it. At least short term anyway. That's how I see it. That's how I see it. Yeah, but salute to the and Fitch says hard cap doesn't apply here. But salute to the chat. If you're liking the conversation so far, hit that like button and subscribe. We talked about the Knicks beating the Wizards, but it was a very brief conversation. Harden started this thing, almost had one more rebound to go over his career high rebounds, and Julius Randle bounced back from his 8-point game, and the Knicks beat the Wizards. But we're here talking about the future, and just in case McBride doesn't step up, because I do feel like this is a McBride trial run to see what he can do as a backup point guard. But just in case that doesn't go as planned, we can bring in somebody else, and we're talking about those guys. And we would be remiss if we did not talk about Dejounte Murray. Not a backup guy per se, but I just feel like we have to talk about him because he's in the news. He's an extremely cheap contract. He's still on a cheap deal. Let me find, let's see. Yeah, he's on a $17 million deal. It's expiring. If the Knicks make this move, we're gonna have to re-sign him. Not sure what he's looking for to be re-signed for. But this might be another reason why you might scratch your head about a move like this, because how much is he really worth? I guess, and how much money does he want? But there's some pros and cons to his game. It's funny because he was brought to the Hawks because Trae Young is not a good defender. So you figure you put Dejounte Murray next to Trae Young, it would shore up the defense and they would be fine. It hasn't exactly worked like that for the Hawks. Hawks fans saying his defense has been a little bit shaky. But then you also see clips of him stealing the ball a lot. So it's been a real mixed review. You've also seen people kind of say that he can't defend guards that are bigger than him, and he's having a problem guarding those guys. But you just wonder with the Hawks, because the Hawks never really been good defensive teams. So you wonder if you put him with a Tibbs, does that change his mindset? Does he become more disciplined? Does that bring him back to what we saw when he's with San Antonio, when he was like all defense? So this is going to be an interesting conversation. Lee, what do you think about Dejounte Murray?
I'm a very spiritual person. My spiritual life means a lot to me. It's very real for me. That I'm sure I'm surprised to a lot of people to hear that. But it's very true. And in my family, we've always kind of had like that type of feeling about premonitions, eyes, and there's something about when Ryan was like we're 1 week away. I felt very moved. I felt like there was something about him co-signing Dejounte Murray as he's just a championship contender. Because we all know Ryan is very even keeled. He's very level-headed. I've never once, even before I was on the show, heard him say the Knicks were anywhere near contention. That was the first time for me. So I was like, damn, if Ryan believes it, I believe it too. So Dejounte Murray is not the perfect player that I would go after. And those question marks, I'll be honest, JL, is they make me a little nervous, especially the defensive ones. If
Yeah.
he ends up being a liability in the backcourt with Brunson, it's Donovan Mitchell 2.0. You have that situation where you've overpaid for a guy that harms you on the defensive end. Right now, that's our calling card. So I don't know if I want to sacrifice that. But there's something about Ryan feeling like that's the piece to really complete the puzzle. I'm in on it too. I'm okay with the Knicks going after him. I just would like to get another player replacement if Grimes is sent out, someone else to kind of like make sure that we have 9 guys that are really consistent we can win and reign with. Because that might require 1 or 2 pieces that we really like to move it out in that trade.
I see Fritz in the chat says he has a new contract.
Yeah, he does have an extension.
Okay,
4 years,
see, this is what happens
25.
when the websites don't update their stuff. I'm looking for the new contract as we speak so I can show you guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's 4 years, 120 mil contract extension.
4
Here's
years.
here's my thing with Dejounte Murray right now. To me, Dejounte Murray is the home run deal where it's a huge risk that you're taking with him, knowing that he's going to be signed for the next 4 years at 120 million. But here's the thing with Dejounte Murray. He fits into the timeline of the team. He's 27 years old. So he has a chance to grow with this team if you think that this is the right piece for the team, and you're gonna have him here with the players that we have currently on the roster for the next 4 years to make it work. He's not a bad shooter. Like I saw somebody in the chat say he's a bad shooter. He's not a bad shooter. He's 38% from 3, almost 39%. I think he's 38.8%. He shoots 37% catch and shoot threes, 41% pull-up threes. So he's not a bad shooter. He can't shoot the rock. He's capable of knocking in the 3. Another thing as well, I know people are concerned about his defense, but the Atlanta Hawks as a whole is not a good defensive team. Thibs is a defensive coach. I feel like if he plays under Thibs, Thibs would unlock his defensive form when he was back in San Antonio. So I'm not too worried about the defensive form.
Sorry.
When he comes to I'm not too concerned about his defensive form when he comes to the Knicks. On top of that, I do think that next to Brunson, he can give Brunson a bit of rest, meaning that he can run the offense at times and have Brunson play the 2 guard, which Brunson is good at playing off ball as well. Brunson doesn't have to work as hard to get his shots a lot of times. And you can also stagger minutes. So like for example, when RJ Barrett was here, RJ Barrett would play with a starting lineup for a certain amount of minutes. You take him out, and then you have him rest for the rest of the first quarter, whatever the case may be. Then you put him back in the second quarter, have him run with the second unit for an extended period of time. And I think you can do the same thing with Dejounte Murray. And then when it comes to end of game situations, you just go with who you feel like is hot going into the fourth quarter crunch time. You go with that unit. So even if Dejounte Murray doesn't want to play that backup role, I feel like you can't put him in the starting lineup, just for the simple fact that he's a good 3-point shooter. He can play alongside another guard, I believe, in Jalen Brunson, who can play the off guard at times. Trae Young struggles at that. Jalen Brunson can actually play that role. And I feel like defensively, he's solid enough where under a defensive coach, I think he's going to refine his form in San Antonio. And if it works out correctly, I feel like that's the move right there that puts the Knicks way over the top and makes them a contender instantly. It's a risk, but I feel like if it's a risk you're going to take, I would take the risk. That's my personal opinion.
It's funny you mentioned because I don't know if he knows trade deadline is coming up because his numbers rise over the last few weeks. Because I checked the numbers as well, and I was like, oh, he's shooting better.
Yeah.
So when you was like, you're right. Like I was looking, I was like, oh, he's up on his catch and shoot, and he's been up on his pull up threes. But that defensive part is kind of what I started with. It's like, man, you wonder if the defense has been a product of playing for a Hawks team that doesn't prioritize defense, or they have more this year than usual. But it's still been like spotty. It's been like they played defense for like a quarter. and then they just forget how to play it. So you just really wonder. So doing the new numbers now, 120 for 4 years, that's 30 mil. You're looking at that's right. That's 30 mil, right? Around
Yeah,
30 mil this season.
Yes.
Oh, let me take this wrong contract down because now it's bothering me that I got it wrong. Sorry, guys. Get his. All right, let's get to it though. So yeah, that's 30 million. That's not bad under contract for a guy who gives you 20 points and can be a playmaker. This is one of those moves. This is like Ryan G said. It can go either way for us. It can go either way for us. The one thing I will say is he's gotten better shooting. Remember, Ryan, we were begging to have Dejounte Murray here a few years ago.
Yeah.
And people were saying that he can't shoot. He was like, we can learn to shoot. We can learn to shoot. It seems like he's learning to shoot. So he's still 20, he's 27 years old. 27 years old. Okay. So he's about at his prime. So maybe a new situation will get him better. I don't know. It's still a risk. Me personally, I love the movement shooting that we're getting from DiVincenzo. It'd be cool if we can experiment where he doesn't have to be a starter, but we can experiment with him coming off the bench and then playing with Brunson's for some spot minutes. That's the way I would prefer it. I'm not sure if he's getting paid the money he's getting paid that's actually what will happen. That's just me. All right. What do you think? We guys think in the chat? Not sure about Murray. The only problem with him is Rich Paul. Rich Paul. Well, there's been a rumor that Rich Paul and Leon Rose have been open to squashing their beef. So that might be in the works. So that might not be a problem anymore. So we will see.
Yeah, then on top of that, I think we all agreed on Brogdon as well. Brogdon is clutch sports. So in order for the Knicks to even get Brogdon, that beef between Leon Rose and Rich Paul got to be solved.
Absolutely. And that's another thing too. If we get Dejounte Murray here and he comes off the bench, they're never sending another player here again. They're never sending another player here again. After what we did with Cam and that whole situation, where you had like 25 players injured, and then Tibbs looked over and put in like a G League guy over him. Like, yeah, another clutch player would never come here again. But whoo, this decision is it's weighing, man. This is a tough one. This is a tough one.
All I'm saying is if the Knicks are willing to take a risk, that's a play I take a risk on. Based on availability and who's out there on the market, that's the risk I would take if I'm in the front office. But I'm not in the front office. I don't run the Knicks, so
because he has the highest playmaking upside out of anybody we talked about. Because he averaged 9 assists in a game with the Spurs, and it was a good rebounder. But he's a combo guard by name, but you wonder if he's really a point guard, not a combo guard. Or if maybe he's still trying to learn that combo guard role. I don't know. This is going to be interesting, man. This is going to be interesting.
He has the highest upside.
Yeah, he definitely has the highest upside out of anybody we talked about. Like, this is more of a swing for the fences move for sure.
If it works for a dynasty.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Because like I said, his timeline matches the Knicks' timeline. He's 27.
Woo, man! Decisions. I love having that movement shooter at the 3-point line, but I also want to have some playmaking. Will the playmaking outweigh the movement shooting that we've gotten? Because we have one of the best shooting backcourts in the NBA right now, and it's like. Do I want to give that up? I don't know. What do you guys think in the chat? What do you guys think? 30 million a year for Brogdon. It's probably going to be Grimes. It's probably going to be a combination of Grimes, Evan Fournier, and a pick, I would think. What do you guys think? Do you want Dejonte, Brogdon, Tyus, Clarkson? What are you guys thinking? Brunson, Murray, Dante is a great trio. He's on the Murray trade. McBride will be great for us. He's just like, go with McBride. Dejonte. All right. I need to figure out. Okay. All right.
Maybe we got to put up a poll.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
To be like, yo, who would you rather the Knicks go for in a trade?
Yeah, maybe we need to do a poll. Hold on.
I feel like we can win a championship with a Clarkson or a Brogdon. And if that's the case, why not hold on to a little bit of capital? Because I really think Dejounte Murray, if we trade for him, there's no other future star trade happening for many years. Because I think Grimes is gone. Perhaps even DiVincenzo, maybe, if he's trade eligible. I'm not 100% sure on that. But Atlanta could win a lot. And if we end up having to do what's necessary to bring him in, I don't know. It's a huge cachet risk. So I prefer a backup PG opposed to an all-in move. But it happens. Let's go.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. He's not expensive right now. Like the Knicks don't have to trade into his contract extension. They have to trade into his contract this season. It's only 17 million he's earning this season. Essentially, you could give up Fournier and a pick or a few picks, and that trade would work.
Yeah.
So it's like if the Knicks want to sweeten the deal a bit and maybe throw in another young player, that's it. Like he could be had at a cheap price. It's not like the Knicks have to give up a whole bunch of pieces. They may have to give up picks, but when it comes to like actual pieces, not a lot.
Yeah,
You don't think so?
because you know what it is, Lee? Leverage. When you're a losing team, you don't have as much leverage. So like the value of your players go down with the record. So when you have a guy like Dejounte, who was probably more, I feel like Dejounte might have been more expensive when he was being traded from the Spurs than when now that he's being traded now. And when the Spurs traded him, they didn't really, they got like what, 2 picks, and I don't even think they got rotational players back when they got 2 picks. I feel like they got a player that they cut. I think it might have been Gallinari. I forgot what the exact trade was, but it wasn't any rotational players.
Yeah, because I remember we were like, yo, that's a really cheap deal. Like the Knicks could have done a deal like that. Like I remember us talking about it.
Yeah, so it would be they got 3 picks. Rich said they got 3 picks. So I feel like it might be 2 picks to 1 pick, to be honest with you. So that's just something to keep an eye on. And then they're gonna get cap relief if you give them Evan Fournier and they sign him to a 4-year deal. They're getting cap relief. But woo, where the hell do you? I wish I had. Hold on. I wish I was looking for the poll stuff. I'm sorry, guys. I was looking for the poll, but I don't see it. I really want to know who you guys most interested in. Who you guys most interested in? I want to know. All right, but that's our show. I don't know. What do you? I said everything else I wanted to say. I said everything I wanted to say. I don't know if you guys want to add anything, or you want to, or what.
No. I mean, I feel like we've talked about everything we need to talk about. I mean, talked about the Wizards game, much to say. Knicks were supposed to beat the Wizards, and they did. And we talked about, possible moves the Knicks could make. I don't know. At least on my end, I ain't got nothing else to add.
I feel like the top moves were Ryan wants Dejounte Murray, JLS wants Malcom Brogdon, I want Jordan Clarkson. We're all fine with either of those 3 guys.
Yeah. I'm with that. Dejounte, every other day I change my mind on Dejounte, I change my mind on Dejounte like every day. Like every 3 days, I'm just like, yes, no, yes, no, yes. But Brogdon, for sure, I'll be down with, because I know what his role will be. I'm good
with Brogdon as well.
With Dejounte, are they going to want Grimes? Oh, the one thing I will say, Lee, because of his contract, I feel like we might, like, if a star becomes available, I think we'd be able to flip Dejonte if a star became available. That's the thing I was about to say.
Yep.
I think we'd be able to flip him for you. I feel like he would be in the package for the star.
I agree. Point guards have just intrinsic value in the NBA. People always want one. They always want to upgrade theirs. And I think he's going to be good for many years to come.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, that's our show. Thank you guys for watching. If you love the show, hit that like and subscribe button. We're here after every game talking Knicks basketball. Definitely be here on Monday when Mike Scotto is here from Hoops Hype. NBA Insider will be talking to him at noon. So definitely check that out. And I might do like a little act. I might check out the community tab. I might ask you guys what questions you might want me to ask him. And maybe I'll pick like one question or two out the group to see what you guys want to ask him. But I'm looking forward to that talk with Mike. So hope this guys see you there. And like and subscribe if it's your first time here. And if you want this channel to grow and get more guests, and tell a friend and tell a friend. And thank you guys, man. We have a lot of people in the chat, 117. We've noticed that the interaction has been growing. The followerships have been growing. The community has been growing. The comments have been growing. The likes and subscribes have been going up. So I appreciate everybody who has been part of the growth of the KOT show. So salute to you guys. Shout out to Nick Yak. Shout out to Copper1291. Shout out to John Smith. Shout out to Coach CR617. Shout out to Mike Boy. Shout out to Prezi the Boss. Shout out to everybody's rocking with the show. I might need more mods. If y'all gonna keep coming deep like this, like 100 deep or whatever, I might need to get more mods in here to regulate, to even out this thing. All right. Oh wait, I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot Fritz wanted to come in chat, right?
Yeah, he did.
My bad, Fritz. There is a Discord link. I forgot to tell you guys, there is a Discord link. So if you guys want to chat and give your thoughts on everybody available who you want, you can join the Discord link. Where did I put the link though? I forgot. There it is. Discord link is right there. Boom. I couldn't pin. Sometimes my computer is weird where I can pin it some days and some days I can't. It's really weird. But you know what? Let me bring Fritz in here real quick. Let him know what his thoughts on.
What's up, JLs?
What's going on, Fritz?
Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you perfectly.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear.
Hold on. We can hear you perfectly.
I don't hear anything yet.
You don't hear anything. Weird. Everything is fine here. Okay, testing 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Nothing is muted on my end.
Can you hear us?
Nope.
He can't hear us. We can only hear him. Weird.
Testing.
Yep. All right. Sorry. Rich, I'm just telling him to just talk.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. Hey, Jail. Okay, so you guys can hear me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we're just in a very interesting part right now. I think with the contracts of the names we mentioned, I think the only three are like viable: Dejonte, Brogdon, Clarkson. The others expirings. I think all expirings are off the table. They really don't work for us. They can't be repackaged in the next summer, so I don't think the Knicks would put themselves in a situation where someone became available and then the Knicks are just staring and can't put a package together. So I think all those are out. Dejonte is my number one by far. Dejonte, he's definitely a starter. He's not going to be on the bench. I think you can have him and then still keep Dante, and Dante comes off the bench and still gets his time. I think that makes it great. Brogdon also works if you don't have to give too much for him. Clarkson works. Uh, Also, another name. I know we've used it in the past, but Jonathan Isaac name comes up again because he's in a unique situation where um, Orlando, if they cut him the next couple of weeks, they save $10 million. They don't have to pay the rest of his contract.
Woo,
So they cut they cut $10 million off.
man.
They cut him the next week or so. So I think he might be a name that might be out there. Just at a minimum or whatever where you're not trading. So those are the names that are out there. I think the Knicks could also just get players on the margin. So players you're not trading first round picks, you're not trading second round picks.
Right.
So people like Killian Hayes, the Trey Mans, the players that they're not exciting, but you know what? They'll fill out the bench. You didn't give up any picks. You just swapped a couple probably edge bench guys for it. But that's about it. What I have for those guys.
All right. Cool. Thanks, Fritz. Well, and he can't hear me, but thank you. All right. What are your thoughts on what he said? For me personally, I'm not interested in fringe and in the bench point guards. If you're paying Miles McBride that money, I'll just have him. I'll just keep grooming him if we're going to sign a Brogdon. You know what I'm saying? No need to have like another. That's the way I see it. I felt like with the money we gave him, we picked the direction. That's why I felt.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're too close to winning it all to go for a French guy. I think we need someone who, honestly, we need the best player in the bench. Whoever we bring in needs to be better than Josh Hart, needs to be better than Precious, and needs to be better than Quentin Grimes. So that's not a French guy to me. That's someone who's averaging 14, 15 a game, give you 40% from three, and can play some above average defense.
I agree. Jonathan Isaac is always a guy I've been like low key interested in. I didn't really know anything about his political views, so I know he has weird political views. But he's the archetype player where it's like, wow, he can guard 1 through 5, and like just to have like a safety blanket, a safety net of a guy who's sort of like in the vein of a guy like OG would be nice to have as like a security blanket in my eyes anyway.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know problem with politics. He can believe whatever he wants. Luckily, James Dolan is also hyper MAGA, so he would go from one MAGA loving team owner to another. And I mean, it's not his views that annoy me. It's just like how loud and obnoxious he is with his views. Like anyone who feels the need to jump on Fox News to talk about the newest book is like, bro, like talk about singing
Oh
choir.
god, he'll get killed over. He'll definitely get killed in New York.
Yeah, that's I think having a backup wing is a good idea because we don't know yet how much Precious is going to play. If Tibbs trusts Precious is a really big question. And right now he's our backup 5. I think Tibbs is trying to see if it's going to be him or Sims that takes that rotation spot. And if Sims does take it, you're out another one of those stretchy, big, tall, long wings who can guard multiple positions. I hope it is Precious because I really like his future in New York, and I trust Miami Heat draft picks. Sometimes it just take a little bit of time to kick in. Look at Derrick Jones Jr. in Dallas, former Miami Heat draft pick, who might be their third best player right now.
True. All true. Good call, Fritz. Yeah, the contract situation, you definitely have to factor that in. I think, yeah, me looking up Dejonte's contract and seeing it was expiring kind of thwarted my thought process. I was like, oh, they're going after expiring. So now when I see an expire, I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, they're going after Dejounte expiring, so maybe they feel like if they can resign him, it'll be fine. But now I know that's not the case. We still have to re-sign OG Anunoby, which is going to be interesting. His numbers has been 40 million, but it seems like he's willing to cut that down to be a Knick. So we'll see what happens in the summer. We will
40
see.
million a year is crazy.
40 million a year is dude. I'm sorry, OG. You're great. You're an amazing off defensive player. I've seen like 2 Frank on steroid comps on Twitter. So